Oh, hello. You must be the new recruit. My name is Martha. Very pleased to meet you. I am the head seamstress here, as well as the main uniform designer. Yes, we always say uniform here because we feel that the word costume lends kind of an immaturity to the job, and of course, this is a very serious job. Being a superhero is a little different than just dressing up in a costume on Halloween, of course. So we prefer to use the term uniform just like you would for any other uniform that you would wear at any other kind of job. So that way it just sounds a little more professional, and then people remember more, to kind of follow the superhero ethics code and really treat it more as a job than a hobby. So that's why we use the word uniform. So I guess what we'll do is we'll start by actually designing your uniform. I'll ask you a few basic questions about design choices that you would have and certain preferences, and we'll get kind of a rough sketch drawn up in our program, and then we'll take your measurements, and then I will take you into the next room, which is our fabric room. We have a very wide selection of fabrics, so you'll be able to choose exactly what you want in both fabric types and colors to create your own uniform. So does that sound like a plan? All right, then why don't we get started? So let me just pull up the program here. Okay, so preference-wise, would you prefer more of like a full body suit or something that's like two-piece, so you'd have a top and a bottom? Are you a one-piece or a two-piece kind of person? Okay. And would you want more pants or robe part? Are you partial to anything? You want something more flowing, or like a tighter pair of pants or something like that? Yeah, you can do both if you want. You can always have like kind of a robe thing with pants under it. That's always a cool look. Or you could have like a shorter robe skirt type thing with pants under it. You can have one that goes all the way to the floor. There's a lot of different possibilities there. All right. How do you prefer to wear your underwear? Do you prefer to wear those on the inside of your uniform or on the outside of your uniform? Yeah, the underwear on the outside of the uniform is an older look. You don't see it as much now. It was very fashionable for a while, so we do still offer that as an option just for people who are interested in kind of maintaining the classic look. But if you're trying to keep with the current fashions, I would advise against it because it's not something that you see as often as you used to. You used to see a lot of superhero uniforms with the underwear on the outside, but you really don't see as many now. So more of a personal preference, but as I say, if you want to be more with the fashions of the times, I would advise against wearing them on the outside and just wear them on the inside. Okay? And for identity protection, would you want like a full headset of something, some kind of full headdress? Or do you prefer a mask, or maybe just one of the little eye masks? You could go with no facial covering, but I don't really recommend that. It's worked for a few people, but there's usually some underlying reason why it works. Whether they're just always in the shadows so no one can actually see their faces, or they have glasses that hypnotize people into not remembering them, or sometimes they're just around really stupid people who can't figure out, that they're the same person. So it doesn't always work though, so you really do want some kind of obscurity on your face to maintain your identity protection. So what exactly appeals to you? Okay. And do you want that to be bigger or smaller? Okay. So for shoes, are you more of a, short shoes person, a boots person, something with a heel, something open-toed. What kind of shoes would you be interested in? All right, and on that subject, what is your shoe size? Okay, I just want to make sure we get these right. For sleeves, do you prefer long sleeves or short sleeves? Maybe sleeveless, like tank top sleeves, something along those lines. What is your personal preference? Okay, and do you prefer your sleeves to be loose or tight? Okay. Do you want a cape with your uniform? Yes, some places advise against capes because they see them as a danger, but we really don't think there's that much of a problem as long as you're comfortable wearing a cape and you're aware of the risks and you take, proper precautions. We've only ever had about 3 fatalities due to capes, and we've had a lot of superheroes come through here, so it's not that big of a statistic. So if you like the cape look, I would recommend going for it. It does lend a certain air of coolness to your uniform. It's always fun when you get kind of a spunky uniform. So do you think a cape is something that you would be interested in? Okay. And do you want a long cape or a short cape, maybe like a capelet, a cape that goes down to your waist, kind of like the waist-length cape? You could do the mid-thigh cape. What kind of cape appeals to you? Long cape? Okay, that's an excellent choice. I actually know someone who wears a long cape, so I'm kind of partial to long capes myself. Do you want to be barehanded or do you want gloves? Okay. And do you want those to be tight gloves, loose gloves? You could do like the really thin ones, they'd be kind of short, come off at your wrists, and they'd be really tight gloves. You could do something kind of longer, that goes up to like your elbow or your forearm, that would kind of splay out a little bit. You could do, like little prongs flying off of them or something to spiff them up if you think it'd come in handy, for climbing rocks or something, whatever, slashing, whatever might be a need, you could just do them like that. Okay. And are there any other little accessories or touches you might want? A belt, some bracers, anything like that, anything you can think of, maybe collar decor. This is where it gets into the, the really personal touches, so whatever you feel like would make your uniform really fit you, this is a good place to put those in. Okay. Oh, okay. Yes, that'd be very interesting. All right, well, why don't we just have our program pull this up? Okay, and well, I think you've chosen a very excellent superhero costume, and this is our state-of-the-art program, which always gives us exact renderings, so you can see exactly what you'll look like in it, and I think it's a pretty good likeness, so why don't we move on to the measurements? Alright, so I'm going to start with your upper body, so we'll start with the shoulders. Take your shoulder measurement here. Okay, then we'll go around the shoulders. Okay, and we're just going to do the length of your arm. Right. And then just to make sure that both your arms are the same length, because I have had superheroes who did not have the same length arm. Okay. And then let's do the neck to torso measurement here. Right. Do your hip measurement. And we'll do the full measurement here. Alright. Then just the leg measurements. Okay. Waist. And then mid-torso. Alright, let me just punch these in. Okay, so let's write those down. Okay, so we have our measurements. So why don't you follow me over to the next room here, right into the fabric. You can check out our wide selection of fabrics. Okay. So as you can see, we have quite a variety of fabrics. We have pretty much every type of fabric and color you could possibly want here, so we can make your superhero uniform exactly the way you want it, be very unique to you, it'll be comfortable, it'll be the colors you want, the style you want, and of course, whatever fabric you want. Now, I have a few fabrics here picked out based on the costume that we just designed. I'd like to show those to you and just tell you a little bit about those types of fabrics. And the colors that I have here, they are not the only colors that these fabrics come in. I just didn't want to pull all the bolts off the shelf, so these are just kind of like the base colors, and you can get them in many other colors, and if we don't have them in stock, we can also order them for you, so don't let the colors of these dissuade you from choosing one of these fine materials. But these particular materials that I'm going to show you are very common in superhero uniforms, and they're some of the more comfortable ones, and there's a little bit of tradition involved, but it's more, they're just very functional as superhero uniform fabrics, which is why I want to show these to you. So I'll show you these few, and then once I do, you can walk through all our halls of fabric and see if there's anything else that jumps out at you. Okay? So first thing I'm going to show you is, of course, the performance materials. So we have the bright, kind of stick together. There's a lot of static electricity. You can hear that. So we have the bright pink. We have the invisibility fabric, which is always a fun one. And then we have the black. And again, these are all the same kind of fabric. These are the spandex fabrics, so they are nice and stretchy. Give you a lot of room for moving, whether you have to run fast or you're in a fight. They allow a lot of freedom of movement, so these are excellent fabrics to use for any superhero costume. Again, I've got the three colors here, the pink, the black, and the invisible, but they come in many colors. We have blues, we have greens, we have purples, we have whites and beiges if you're into the neutrals. We have a few of these that are printed, not as many, but since the solid colors are more popular, but you know, yellow, orange, whatever color you could want, we pretty much have them, and of course different variations of those. These are very light and breathable, so again, these are good for if you think you're going to be in a lot of fights, or you know, you'll be doing a lot of physical activity and exerting yourself. These are very good for that. So and still very comfortable. Like I say, they allow for a lot of range of movement, so even if you're getting warm during a fight, you'll still be nice and comfortable. So those are the performance fabrics, and this is another performance fabric. It's very similar, but has more of a plasticky sheen to it, so if you want to make a little more of an impression when you first enter, these are kind of fun ones. You can see how they catch the light. Again, they're still stretchy because this is, again, it's a spandex, it's performance material, so just as stretchy as the others. And the fun thing about these is they're kind of double-sided because you can use the other side as well, which maintains the same lovely color pattern, and it's just as stretchy, but it doesn't catch the light, so you can do kind of like a two-tone, where you catch the light on one side, and then maybe like the bottom half of your uniform does not catch the light, so you know, you can kind of fashionize that out. Another very common fabric is satin. Satin is nice because it, again, it catches the light, which is great. So it's always nice when your uniform makes a statement upon your entry. The one I have here is a print, but we have a few prints in the satin. Not a huge amount, but this is one of the fabrics that we have the most prints in because it's one of the fabrics that we've had the longest in stock, so they've come out with a lot of different prints for it. We do, of course, also have this in a lot of plain colors. We have a lot of plain colors of satin, and we have a few different types of satin too. This one is one of my personal favorites because it's a very soft, silky satin. Some of them can be a little bit rough, so this one's a very, very smooth, soft satin, so it's very comfortable to wear. It's very good for the inner parts of the uniform. You know, some of the less comfortable fabrics could be used more for the outer layers of the uniform, but this is a good one to use for the pieces of the uniform that will actually be touching your skin, because it is very, very silky and very smooth and very comfortable to wear. And we have this in many plain colors as well. Again, you know, the blacks, the greens, the blues, the purples, the oranges, the yellows, you know, whatever color you could possibly want it in, we do of course carry it. And then the final fabric I want to show you, this is a crushed velvet. And again, we have this in many colors. This is our dark green, but we also have this in blues and blacks and reds. We don't have this in quite as many colors as some of our other fabrics, just because it's one of the newer ones that we've got in stock. So we want to see how many of our superheroes decide to use it for the uniforms before we order many colors. But we do have pretty much all of your basic colors, you know, your black, your white, green, of course, blue, purple, yellow. I don't know if we have orange or not, actually. I don't know if we have orange, and I don't think we have pink. We do have the other base colors. So this, again, this is a little bit stretchy. It's not as stretchy as the spandex, the performance materials, but it does have a little bit of give to it. This is a really good one to make capes out of because, as you can see, it has lovely drape. And when it comes to capes, it's all about the drape. So this is a great fabric to make capes out of. If you wanted your cape made out of this crushed velvet, it would look lovely. It's a warmer fabric, so if you decide to have two uniforms, one for summer and one for winter, this would be a great one to do for the winter because it's a nice warm fabric. It will keep you warm. If you think you're going to be doing a lot of fighting in warm areas, you might not want to use this because it could get very warm during your battles. But again, if you're in cold areas, then this is a really, really good one, a nice warm fabric. So I'll just set that back over here. So those were the fabrics that I wanted to show you, and show you their characteristics, of course. But as you can see, we have tons more fabrics. So I will let you go back and walk through our aisles of fabric. You can pick out a few bolts of whatever you would like, and then bring them back to me. I'll be back in the sewing room that we just came from. And when you've taken your time with your fabrics, you can bring them in there, and we'll set about making your uniform. So take your time, walk through the aisles, feel free to touch all the fabrics, them really speak to you. You can hold them up to yourself. There's a mirror at the far end of the hall. You can stand in front of that, kind of see how it looks, and pick out your fabrics, and we'll get to work making your uniform. Okay,